Good to see you.
Nice to see you. This is your ward too, right?
That's right, that's right.
You were talking about something.
Then I'm going to introduce you again. You just told us. So, yes.
Đại hốt,歡迎光臨嚟英文教育工作。我係杜雲生經理。今晚我哋有輪中文工作，我而家介紹 Chief Armin。
Neho, and on behalf of all of the men and women of York Regional Police, I want to welcome you to this first of our Chinese Paces presentations. And I would also like to, on behalf of all the men and women of York Regional Police, do a Gong Hei Pat Choi. And I understand this is the year of the Golden Boar. And I also understand that in this very special year, one that comes around once every 60 years, it means a very successful year, a very content year. And I was told the other night at the Chinese New Year celebration that it's also a year for security. And I can tell you, as a proud member of York Regional Police for the last 34 years, we have the benefit of living and working in one of the safest communities in Canada. And over the last 3 years, our crime rate has steadily decreased. And over the course of the Paces presentation, you'll come to hear a little bit more about how safe York Region is and how the men and women of York Regional Police, men and women that are represented here tonight, in the form of Eric and Tom and a host of others that are out there working on patrol, work hard to keep our community safe. You'll also know that York Region is one of the fastest growing communities in Canada. We grow by about 35 to 40,000 citizens every year. And what is different about the growth here in York Region compared to other municipalities maybe in Canada is the fact that we attract citizens from virtually every corner of the world. And we have been very pleased over the course of the last 5 to 10 years to welcome a number of citizens from Hong Kong, from the People's Republic of China, Taiwan, individuals that speak Cantonese and Mandarin, but also too from South Asia, individuals that speak Urdu, Farsi, Punjabi, Hindi. And it really has enriched our community, and it's made us, I think, a community that is the envy of Canada and the envy of the world. Because here in York Region, we live together in peace and in harmony, and we've shown the world what is possible by putting aside our differences that may exist in other parts of the world, and working to build a better Canada and a more inclusive Canada, a more inclusive York Region. You'll also know too that York Region, and as you will hear from Tom when he talks about the history of York Regional Police, our police service covers an incredibly large area, 665 square miles, and everything from Steeles Avenue in the south right up to the 1/3 of Lake Simcoe, and from Durham Region in the east to Peel Region in the west. And obviously, to do what we do, we require a lot of staff, and we can thank the members of our Police Services Board and the members of our Regional Council for giving us the staff, giving us the resources that we need to be one of Canada's most progressive police services. And in fact, over the course of the last 3 years, we've increased our strength quite substantially, well over 250 officers, and our 5-year staffing plan will see our organization grow by 378 officers and 175 civilian support staff. And that's the largest single intake of staff in the history of our organization, and that's a 36-year history. So clearly this is a service that's growing in relationship to a community that's growing very rapidly, and a community that has extremely diverse demographics as well. But you also know too that despite the fact that we have one of the safest communities, we have some challenges here in York Region. And I know many of you are familiar with some of those challenges. Challenges such as indoor marijuana grow operations. And I'm sure you've read about them, you've heard about them, you've seen them on television. But we've experienced indoor marijuana grow operations in Markham, Richmond Hill, and Vaughan primarily. But I'm pleased to say that we're winning the war on indoor marijuana grow operations. We've seen the numbers dramatically decrease over the course of the last 3 years, from a high of 173 to last year only 93 indoor marijuana grow operations. And the amount of drugs that we're seizing from these operations is decreasing. It's still very disturbing to know, though, that we seize about $25 million worth of marijuana here in York Region from indoor marijuana grow operations. And most of that marijuana is being exported into the United States, and unfortunately is coming back into our community in the form of other drugs, cash, or firearms. So clearly there's an issue within our community that we have to deal with, and we have the benefit of our helicopter or air support unit in that particular fight, and the benefit of some of the most aggressive and some of the best trained and the best equipped drug and vice officers anywhere in Canada within this organization. And one of the most distressing aspects of indoor marijuana grow operations is the fact that we're finding children living in these types of enterprises. And in fact, this year alone, in the month of January alone, we rescued 10 children from these types of illegal enterprises, whereas all of last year, I believe, we rescued about 25 children. So clearly, we've seen a significant increase this year, and if that trend continues, obviously, it'll be far surpass what we've experienced over the course of the last few years as far as children in indoor marijuana grow operations. In addition to children in indoor grow ops, we've been experiencing issues associated with illegal massage bars, but the most pressing issue in our community, no matter which part of our community I talk about, whether it's Mount Albert, whether it's Richmond Hill, whether it's Vaughan, or whether it's Newmarket, it's traffic. And traffic in the form of aggressive driving, traffic in the form of individuals driving while under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or individuals not wearing their seat belts, or pedestrian traffic issues too. That's the single biggest concern within our community here in York Region, and I suspect it's the single biggest concern in Toronto and in Durham and Peel. And when we start to analyze traffic issues, we find that there are just too many people driving too fast in your subdivisions and in your neighborhoods, too many people not wearing their seat belts, and far too many people drinking and driving. So clearly what we've done in York Region is we've been waging a war against aggressive drivers. We have a ride program out all year long as opposed to just during the holiday season. And we've got some of the best trained officers from detecting narcotics and people driving while under the influence of a narcotic. And as sad as it is to see people being killed in homicides, I can tell you that across Canada every day, four people every day lose their life as a result of impaired drivers. And when you start to do the math, that's an astounding statistic. Over 1,700 people killed every year in Canada as a result of impaired driving. And when we start to analyze some of the data as far as our aggressive driving campaigns, we find that most of the people that are speeding in neighborhoods and subdivisions are living within those neighborhoods and subdivisions. So it's not like people are driving from Barrie to Richmond Hill or to Markham or to Vaughan to speed in our subdivisions. It's unfortunately people that are living in those subdivisions. So our real emphasis is on education and awareness as much as enforcement. Last year we issued over 117,000 traffic tickets. 117,000 traffic tickets. And we increased that from 112,000 the year before. So clearly you can see we're doing our piece as far as enforcement goes. But education and awareness are important. And that's why it's so important that you're here tonight. And that you're here over the course of the next 5 evenings. Because over the next 5 evenings, you'll be hearing about the history of York Regional Police. You'll hear about our Guns and Gangs Intelligence Unit. You'll hear about our Police Services Board. And I think one of the more important presentations you're going to hear about on March the 13th is a day in the life of a police officer. And as important as the job is that I do, and as important as the job as Julie does in Community Services, or Paul does in Diversity and Cultural Resources Bureau, or some of the Sean does in Community Services, the most important part of our police service is the frontline officers. And these are the officers that are out on patrol 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. They're the ones that are going to the calls, people needing help. They're the ones that are responding to the 911 calls. They're the ones that confront the most dangerous types of situations. And if you can imagine the number of police officers that you hear about being killed in the line of duty or seriously injured in the line of duty, more often than not, it's a frontline police officer. And the most dangerous task in our profession is not confronting a gunman or a person with a knife. It's a simple act of getting out of your motor vehicle and giving somebody a traffic ticket or investigating a motor vehicle collision on the side of the road. Because there are more police officers injured and killed in car accidents now than through any other means. And most of the funerals that I've been to over my 34 years have been for frontline police officers that are killed in motor vehicle collisions. And these are the officers that need our support And these are the officers that, as I said, when you're in trouble, will be there at your door within minutes of being called, and they're the ones that will deal with the problem then and there. And they don't have the benefit of a lot of time to make decisions. They don't have the benefit of a lot of input as far as information goes. They have to make split-second decisions, sometimes life and death decisions. So as far as I'm concerned, they deserve a round of applause. So can we give them a round of applause? And what you'll also hear tonight, and what you'll hear over the course of the next 5 evenings as well, is a presentation on frauds. And given the unique nature of our society now with the internet, it's so easy to commit frauds, obviously, and that's something that we continue to do our best to combat. But what you'll also hear about is changing nature in the face of our police service. And we're very proud of the fact that we've attracted men and women from different communities into our police service. And as you will note here tonight, and as you will come to see over the course of the next 5 weeks, we've attracted a lot of officers from the Chinese community, officers that speak Cantonese or Mandarin, officers that speak a host of different languages too. And that's important for us because we want to serve all the communities here in the York region. We want to be the best police service there is anywhere in North America. And to do that, we need to reflect the community that we serve. I just want to close by talking a little bit about partnerships. And crime is not a police problem, it's a community problem. And as a result, we need the community to assist us in keeping our community safe. And we need individuals like yourselves. We need associations like the Federation of Chinese Canadians. We need associations like the Filipino Association of Markham or the African Caribbean Association to assist us in keeping our community safe. We need to establish partnerships to break down barriers that might exist between different communities and the police. And we need to establish partnerships to ensure that young men and young women see policing, see our profession as a viable opportunity for the future. Because I do know in some countries and in some places in this world, policing is not a respected profession. But as you know, here in Canada, it is one of the most noblest and one of the most respected professions. And I think you're here tonight, your presence here tonight demonstrates your commitment to partnerships and your commitment to our police service. So I want to congratulate you, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us here tonight. I know you're going to enjoy the next 5 evenings. And I can tell you that we do plan on having future sessions in different languages. Tonight's and the next 5 nights is going to be in Cantonese. And if there's enough demand, we'll do one in Mandarin. And we do plan on having one in Urdu. And I think, Paul, you're going to assist us in that particular area. And I'm looking forward to joining you on the graduation of this particular mini Paces course. And I do hope to see you out in future courses too. So on behalf of all of us that's so proud to wear this uniform, I want to thank you, I want to congratulate you, and I just want to close by wishing you again a happy new year, happy year of the Golden Boar. May Fat Choi, Shei Shei. Your award counselor, Godwin Chan, a man that I've known for many years, a man that once served on our Police Services Board, newly elected councillor for this ward here in the town of Richmond Hill, to come forward and say a few words.
Thank you, Chief Labarge. I should also like to add my personal thanks to the Chief, Officer Doran, and all the officers who are here today. It's really for the men and women of our proud York Regional Police. That's why we have one of the safest communities in York. Not only in York Region, of course, but in the whole country, as I understand it. So I really like to ask that if you can join me to give a round of applause to Chief Labarge and my officer, not only to protect us 724, 365 days a year, but also bring over this PACE program to our community. The very first they're doing in Cantonese. Therefore, again, congratulations for coming here. 我係呢一區嘅市員，我係陳志輝。咁亦都好高興今日大家咧係能夠係喺百忙當中，尤其是新年嘅時間咧，係嚟到參加呢個約克區警隊第一次用外語即係話除英文之外嘅特別嘅講座。咁我喺呢度咧亦都係順便咧同各位拜年，祝大家咧今年咧財源廣進，同埋咧出入平安。 我亦都喺度代表市會咧，好高興咧用中文咧係多謝我哋有一區嘅警隊咧係能夠係喺我哋呢一個比較環聚居多嘅地方係做呢一個嘅講座。咁亦都我一向咧係主張咧係呢個加強呢個社區嘅治安，將警察嚟帶社區，喺民眾大家同警察嗰個關係更加密切。The chief has said it's basically a shared responsibility. Police have been doing their job. It's our turn to know more about the police and doing our job to support and help the police as well. 再次多謝大家嚟，希望大家喺呢5個嘅晚上咧係學到你哋想學嘅嘢，咁亦都係希望大家能夠有一個愉快嘅新年。多謝。
I just want to pay a special tribute to the civilian members of our organization. They're the unsung heroes, and these are like in your businesses, the people that work behind the scenes, the people that you don't see on television, but they're the ones that contribute to our safety and security. And I know our frontline officers will tell you, Eric and Tom, that we rely on these individuals very heavily. And also to our auxiliaries, and there are a number of auxiliary members here tonight, and these are volunteers. They don't get paid for what they do. They have full-time jobs elsewhere, sometimes 40 and 50 hours a week at their own businesses and their own professions, but they come out in the weekends or in the evenings and volunteer their services as they are here tonight, and they are truly unsung heroes, and we certainly do appreciate your support. If you could pass that out to your brother and sister auxiliary officers, and our volunteers within York Regional Police too, and many of them work in our community safety village. They work all across the organization, and without their support, without their assistance, we would not be the successful police service that we are. And if you're ever interested in volunteering, becoming members of our auxiliary, or certainly becoming members of our police service, over the course of the next 5 weeks, you'll have all kinds of opportunities to ask questions about how you get engaged in that. And I do hope one day to be shaking somebody's hand here and welcoming them as members of York Regional Police. Thank you.
Let me ask my question first.
Okay.
Does the YRP forces reflecting the diversity needs in the community?
Yeah, we've, over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, made substantial inroads into being more reflective of the community we serve. And over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, we've increased our diversity rate from about 6% to almost 13%. So we've attracted officers from the Asian, South Asian, Black communities, First Nation communities. And we obviously need to do more because we live in one of the most diverse communities in all of Canada here, but we've made some substantial inroads.
Okay. So what about the community associations? You mentioned that in your talk.
Yeah, I mean, crime is not a police problem, it's a community problem, and it's important from our perspective to make sure that we work with the community to solve crime, to keep our region one of the safest regions in all of Canada. And we've had the benefit of establishing some fantastic working relationships with the Chinese community in a variety of different forms, but all other communities too. And we want people to be engaged in keeping their neighborhood safe and keeping their community safe, and by extension, the region is safe, and our province and our country are safe. And we've got some great crime prevention programs. We've got some fantastic programs whereby if citizens see violations or criminal offenses occurring, they pick up the telephone, they either call 911 or call Crime Stoppers. And I can't tell you the number of cases that have been solved as a result of information from the public, a number of cases like that.
And you mentioned the grow house problem. Is that organized crime?
To an extent, yes. It's not organized in a traditional sense, in the sense that you don't have a godfather of marijuana grow operations here in York Region. Our investigations have found that you have different cells operating, sometimes operating on the same street without one particular cell knowing that the other cell is there. But we've seen the problem decrease over the course of the last 4 to 5 years. We had an all-time high of 173 marijuana grow operations that we executed search warrants at 4 years ago. And last year we had reduced that number to under 100. I think it was 93. But one of the most disturbing aspects of marijuana grow operations is the fact that people are choosing to raise their children in these very, very dangerous types of enterprises. And that's not parenting. In my mind, that should be a criminal offense unto itself. And I've been advocating the government to consider bringing in new legislation that specifically makes that a crime, having a child in these types of illegal enterprises. You can appreciate that we go into these operations with breathing apparatus on, with Tyvek suits, protective gear on our hands and our feet, and we found babies sometimes as young as a month and a half old living in these types of operations. And there's mold, there's chemicals, there's pesticides being used, there's electrical vehicle dangers. The houses have been restructured, holes cut in the floors. They're extremely dangerous places for police officers. And when you get a young infant, potentially a 2 or 3 year old child that can move around the house very quickly, these are clearly not the places for children. And we just like to take these types of places and remove them from our community altogether, put the operations out of business, and make sure that the poison that they're producing is not getting into our community.
Since your region is close to like Toronto and also Peel region, do you find any evidence that cans move from one region to the other?
Oh, most assuredly. Our border is just a street, and we do have instances where criminals will go from the south side of Steeles into the north side of Steeles, but conversely so. We have gang members that live in York Region and belong to gangs in Toronto. We're, as I said, one of the safest communities in Canada, but nonetheless we still have issues such as guns and gangs and marijuana grow operations and illegal massage parlors. So we've got a number of the same types of big city crime that's going on in larger communities and larger centers. But we're very fortunate in the sense that this continues to be a very safe community, and as a result of the community partnerships that we've established.
So there will be intelligence exchange between different...
Yeah, the days of borders existing between police services are long gone. I can tell you over the course of the last 15 years, you've seen any separations between police services obliterated. We share information now as readily as I'm talking to the viewers here, and we have databases and computer systems that talk to each other. We have provincial VI-class systems that share intelligence information about high-risk offenders or dangerous offenders and sex offenders. So we have an Ontario Sex Offender Registry. So the province has done a good job in making sure that information is shared more readily between police services, because that's what makes safe communities, is the sharing of information.
Thank you.
Excellent.